Bring out the talent.
Bring out the talent.
Bring out the talent.
Welcome to Bring Out the Talent, a podcast featuring learning and development experts discussing innovative approaches and industry insights. Tune in to hear our talent help develop yours. Now here are your hosts, TTA's CEO and President, Maria Melfa, and Talent Manager, Jocelyn Allen.
Hi, Jocelyn.
Hey, Maria. I am so glad that this episode got started because we were feeling a little dicey for a second there, weren't we?
But we had many technical issues with my headset being unplugged, me putting mute on by accident, and not even realizing there was a mute button on my microphone.
Did you learn
you hearing double and not hearing anything? And
correct. Yeah. Right. But we are L&D. So we bounce back. Tech resolution and troubleshooting, called TTA, because me and Maria can just do it for you.
Absolutely. I feel like I could be a virtual session producer right now.
Exactly.
Yes,
you could.
Exactly.
Well, that's a nice segue, because if you needed a virtual session producer, you obviously need a trainer, and we have one of those on our episode today.
We have a master facilitator.
Yes.
Very excited for our guest and one of our long-term partners who we use all the time at some incredible companies and always does incredible work for us. So let's get started. Mm-hmm. Did you know that approximately 46% of leadership transitions fail? So imagine the challenge transitioning from being a colleague to taking on a leadership role. So this leads us into a pivotal question. How can we empower new leaders to successfully navigate the leap from peer to leader? In this episode of Bring Out the Talent, we dive into the challenge of transitioning from these roles, from being a coworker to all of a sudden becoming a leader. We will explore strategies for new leaders to smoothly transition from being buddies to leaders, while maintaining their peer relationships and navigating changes without burning the bridge. We will also discuss adapting leadership styles, how to gain the trust of diverse teams, and overcome generational differences. Our guest today is Dr. Karen Jacobson. Karen, the visionary behind Aligned Leadership Academy, brings a wealth of experience in neuroscience and team development, and has been transforming organizations into competitive powerhouses. Dr. Jacobson's success has been accelerated by her diverse experience as a former Israeli military commander and an accomplished ballroom dancer. We were just talking about your experience, and how amazing, Karen. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here with you today.
Karen, you know that the term powerhouse is what I think of for you. You are a phenomenal leadership trainer and speaker, and we are thrilled to have you bring that to the table here on the Bring Out the Talent podcast, because this is a statistic that I don't think a lot of people are kind of thinking about, right? We hear about reasons why people get put into specific roles. We also hear about the gaps that exist in those areas. And then here we are talking about the alignment there, and, you know, what it actually results in like gains and losses for companies, right? And their people. So we're really excited to have your expertise kind of lead the way for this conversation. Leadership is very, very near and dear to TTA as working with us for as long as you have. Your background is incredibly interesting, as Maria wrapped up with saying that you've been a military commander in the Israeli military and a competitive ballroom dancer at the same time. So where did that, what led you to that? And then what then led you to forming your leadership academy?
Wow, that's a loaded question. So let's take it down piece by piece and really tackle that. I would say, and they have come at different phases. The aspect of being in the military, I grew up in Israel. And the timing, I always look at the timing for everything. 2 days ago was Yom Kippur, which is Atonement Day. And that was 50 years to the Yom Kippur War. Now, there's some of us that actually, like myself, have been around during that war as a child. And that experience of watching a country manage war, how it impacted me as a child, watching soldiers, watching what the military had done, that's where that spark of leadership had really begun. Those were the roots for me. And I remember from a young age, whereas I look at how people were reacting during the war and I'm like, I need to do things differently. And that was my country, and my country was in distress. What can I do to contribute and support? And as I was going through school, everything was all about how do I get into leadership positions? So sometimes there's a calling and you follow. Sometimes there may not be a call. There's more of an assignment. That is going to change the way somebody shows up as a leader. And when we talk about the fact that there is failed leadership and the statistic of 46% of failed leadership, the question is, when somebody, whether they show up or whether they are assigned, are they equipped? Are they really able to embrace and embody the characteristics that are needed to be a leader, for people to listen, to follow, to respect? Do they have that command and executive's presence? Or are we still following the Peter principle and promoting people because of the fact that they've shown skill at work and now they've spent enough time and they've earned the right, quote unquote, to become a leader? That was old school. Today, we need to look at things differently because our landscape has changed.
It certainly has. And I still believe that probably happens all the time as far as the Peter principle.
Absolutely, Maria, because of the fact that so many of our businesses are still operating based on old world, old philosophy concepts. One of the things that we're experiencing right now in the workforce is a change in the dynamic as far as what leadership is, what do we bring to the table, how do we even run organizations, and how much change do we create from that old style of authoritative leadership and leadership that very often is by title, to bringing in a higher value, as an example, on emotional intelligence, on what we used to call, or as it's still called outside, as the soft skills. In my work, I don't call it soft skills. Those are core skills. Those are power skills. Those are the skills that are essential for me to be able to have a conversation with another human being, influence them one way or another, lead people, diffuse conflict, delegate, all those traits that are required to build high-performing teams and lead organizations towards success. So today, when we're looking at the emerging leaders, it's really more, and research will show that today, as opposed to IQ, EQ, emotional intelligence, and the ability to manage our emotions, to manage relationships, to be able to connect with other people, is 93% essential in promoting someone to a leadership position.
And one of the biggest gaps that exists too, right? Which kind of leads us a little bit into the more evolved conversation that we're diving into here. And a lot of what your Leadership Academy addresses, right, are skill gaps in leadership. So drawing from your experience, when we're talking about promoting from within and the success factor of navigating new leadership roles, our topic here today, what are 3 of the most common challenges that you think individuals are facing when they're promoting from within and are kind of creating these statistics?
So one of them is the one that Maria kind of brought some light on, is I'm hanging with my peers today and I got a promotion, and on Monday I'm now their boss. how do I navigate that? How do I handle that? And it reminds me of a client that I had several years ago in Hawaii. And he brought up that challenge because they have the concept of ohana, of family. And the question came directly. He goes, I got promoted. I used to hang out with my family, and now I don't know what to do. And do I hang out with them and drink and party, or do I go home? And that's a dilemma that very often an emerging leader that just got promoted to their peer group is going to have. Now, with that said, since we're not necessarily always promoting based on the Peter Principle and someone that might have been long-standing, we might come up with an issue where we've had a team that has a variety of different generations, and I've got a younger individual that is climbing up the ladder and has been brought up for promotion and now is in charge of people that are older generationally. And they may or may not be able to coexist easily, should I say. There might be some challenges that we bump against when it comes to ideology, when it comes to work ethic, when it comes to certain values, even when it comes to leadership style. And the third one, I would say, is related to succession. And what I mean by that is we've had a leader that has been in this department for the past 15 years, and they retired. We've brought someone up the channel, and now there's a new face with new leadership style, with new values, with new communication style, with new ways of managing things. How did they start managing the team, good or bad? It could have been that the previous leader was someone that that people did not get along with well. How do they change that so that the team doesn't necessarily come up against an same old? Or if there was someone that was very loved, because there's always going to be a comparison when there's a new leader on the team. It's just by nature. So those the top three issues that I see coming more so than anything else.
How can you address these issues? What are some of the best things that you can do to ensure in these three case examples that a smooth transition will happen? I guess you can't assure that, but how can you?
See, when I look at succession planning within an organization, I will actually take and reverse engineer it. And what I mean by that is I'm going to look as far as early as the onboarding process. When I look at someone and I just onboarded a new team member, what are some of their goals? What are some of their desires? What are their skills? What is their ambition? Where can they excel? And what path do they want to see themselves in? If I can start building from the start, then I can also start cultivating and providing them with the right training, with the right skill sets that they need along the way. So maybe I start off with somebody and they know they want to be in a leadership position. And we have a project within the team that we're working in subgroups. I give them a slight promotion. I have them in charge of a small group. Let them exercise their skill sets. Let them grow and learn. By the same time, I want to make sure that I'm going to provide the entire team the opportunity to learn the rest of the skills and to be able to use them, not whether they're leading or whether they're, I would say, a back leader. And what do I mean by a back leader? Is they may not want to be the leader of the team, but they can still lead small groups without the title. And taking ownership like that, which helps us, first of all, create higher performing teams, but also preps people better for leadership and climbing up the ladder. And continuously making sure that we check in on those goals, because those goals might change. But that preparedness along the way, that readiness helps people to a position where they're not just taking, and by the way, I don't mean by just giving somebody an online course. Here, you take this is going to be your leadership preparedness course. There has to be some live intervention. There has to be some connection. There has to be either whether it's the opportunity to have some type of a hybrid course where somebody is actually being able to coach them, where somebody might have some mentorship involved, where there's the opportunity for feedback and not just to, there is an expression in Hebrew, and I'm trying to translate that in my head, it's to just do something because you're supposed to do it. Okay, we're supposed to train people, so let me just drop in a learning management and put something online. Well, the research is going to show that while some people have the discipline to do that, a large percent won't, and you don't gain from that. So you're really not developing your leaders. You're really not building a strong succession unless you have a personal intervention. You cannot teach people about people skills and about leadership without having a live group to show an example and actually demonstrate.
That's an excellent example. And I could see over the 30 years of TTA where we have done things similarly to what you said, but we really didn't put that as a practice as far as this could be your first step into managing a team. I really like that.
Furthermore, with that, Maria, when we look at growth and transformation, it is a process, not an event. So if I'm coming in and I'm going to do a team development day. You'll feel nice, you'll have some ideas, and you'll go and put the stuff home, and you'll have what one of my mentors years ago used to talk about, shelf help. Oh, I did this, I have a certificate, but how did you apply it? Being able, when I work with a client, I'll go in and I'll create continuity programs where they have training and conversations and coaching and group experiences so that they can actually learn, practice, demonstrate skills, and even teach each other. Because we know, according to adult learning, that when I'm teaching someone what I've learned and they get to teach it further, that's the highest level of retention. So that practice, that retention will help people along the way. And it could even be with micro learning, so that by the time somebody gets to a point where, okay, I'm ready to rise among my peers, I've already known that that's what I was looking for. And I've had coaching on how to really manage my behavior along the way. So it's not that somebody will be the party animal today and for the first 2 years at work, and then on Monday, they're going to stop. If I know that I have a certain path, how is my coach? How is my mentor going to direct me to know that, hey, if I want to advance my career in this organization, here are some boundaries and some behaviors that would be appropriate and some behaviors that would not. I get the choice. If I want to walk the path of leadership, I got to start acting like a leader from day one.
Right. I was going to comment on the practice and demo part of it, because I mean, so often we talk about the needs of learners and what works the best for them in even a training setting. So like classroom style training setting, I mean. And it's always about, how is this the most practical for me? How can I see myself doing it? Because I want to be able to kind of put it into practice immediately and start seeing the results of it, which is immediate fuel to the fire, which is immediate, like not immediate, but close to skill retention, because it's continually practiced and then it becomes habitual. And then you build off of those skills as they continue to evolve. So, I mean, I am a full, huge proponent of demoing and practicing skills versus that off the shelf, got a certificate, so now what kind of thing. So yeah, I love the tactics that you put into place, and that's an automatic kind of part of what you provide.
Well, that's the difference between knowing something and embodying something.
Mm-hmm.
I can know something logically, but I've never done it. It's funny. You mentioned earlier when we talked about ballroom. I happened to be very fortunate when I started training and when I started dancing. I had an instructor who was also my dance partner who was very, very wise. And at the time, I was in my previous career as a chiropractor. Now, I could tell you every single muscle, what the origin, what the insertion, where it starts, where it ends, what movement it creates, how does it flex, how does it extend. And he was talking about something different because he said, I want you to move in a certain way. I said, well, I'm doing that. And he goes, no, you're not. You have the knowledge. You don't have the movement embodied. And I remember I was training at the time, both with him and I was actually cross training. I had another coach. And one of the things in order to get that muscle to act, she would tap on the muscle so that I can actually contract the muscle and use it. Now take that into play. We have the logistics, we have the knowledge, but are we tapping on the muscle? Do we have the opportunity to use the skill, bring it into play and see results? And that's how we need to look at training. And that's how we need to look at being able to also create that succession within an organization.
I love that. That's a great example. Great visual.
It certainly is. And again, it's just so important, the practice and the demo and what it leads to. And I'm glad that we're talking about it because we don't talk about this kind of stuff enough. And going back to what you were saying about the kind of buddy to boss transition, that's another one that I think leads into a lack of success in the leadership transition. So what about that? When a new leader comes up from a peer group and is now in charge, for lack of a better word, how can they, what is the first step in effectively transitioning and making sure that relationships are kind of still upheld, but that the professional one is developed into the appropriate layer that it now is?
One of the things that is important at that level is having the tough conversations. And one of the tough conversations is being open and upfront with the team. Hey, team, I'm literally in a position where 3 days ago, we were hanging out as peers. Today, I'm the supervisor. And that's not changing how I feel towards you and the friendships that we have. It does put me in a position where, as a leader within the organization, my word comes down through the chain of command. What I'm asking is your support. I'm asking for you to give me checks and measures and support me in my role so that as a team with my leadership, we can all succeed. Now think about it. How many times do you actually know of leaders that would have that conversation? Very often we end up with conversation where people are not guided to have that type of conversation. They're guided to really force by their title. Well, because I'm the boss now, and my word is what it is what sticks. And that transition is leading by title, not leading by right. It's also leading by authority and not leading by support. And so that conversation's not easy. You know what? Yes, I used to hang out late. I've got more responsibility right now where I have to be in early, whatever the conversation might be, where I cannot do that. But I'm happy to maintain relationships, whether it's doing one-on-ones, whether it's having lunches, whether it's having certain things, but I'll still go back to where we started in the succession. That behavior has to really start being modeled earlier on. for someone to truly, truly be successful in that transition.
It's an important one to have. I agree. It's a tough one too. But I think that one of my outlooks on things when it comes to relationships like that is just full transparency. So, I mean, speaking from my own experience, I stepped into a leadership role here about a year ago and have great relationships with everybody at this place. Like, it's just the way that TTA works. But of course, you're on a team and part of that team, and then make a transition to leading that team. You get close with those people on a different level prior to that. And I had like very raw almost conversations about it, saying that, like, I know this is how our relationship is. So I don't want you to think that we can't still have the trust that exists from having those relationships. And that I can also now help you in a professional standpoint and level with you more on that, because I know exactly like what your experiences are, because I was part of them. And I think it added something to it as opposed to completely changing it. And it was because sometimes I was like, I don't even know what to say, but here's how I'm going to say it. And so like people just understood it was me saying it, and I'm here to like help us all just enhance things and do right, and like nothing else should change about it, because I think part of our success is the fact that this is how we are. So transparency, I don't know, maybe it's too much, but it's worked so far.
So you tapped into a key element that's important. They also talk about it in 5 dysfunctions of the team, and having those raw conversations, which is the element of trust. And the question is, how do you build? And that's really what when you look at those 3 scenarios, whether it's someone that's younger, whether it's a peer, or whether it's old versus new, a loved leader versus not necessarily a loved leader that is replacing, it boils down to trust. Am I being trustworthy? Can I trust my peers to support me? And that is based on the relationships that you create. It is based on your transparency, on your authenticity, and your ability to be real and be willing to have those conversations. You gave a great example, Jocelyn, where you had, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean that everybody might be comfortable with having a group conversation on that. Although a group conversation can be very cathartic, done the right way, facilitated the right way. Sometimes it could be with the leader. Sometimes it could be with someone, a facilitator from the outside to manage it. But what it has to be open and real. And it can be one-on-one, where you really hear your team members and you understand what their needs are. You understand what worked well in the past, what didn't work well, and how do you proceed. And I have not seen too many situations in life where, done the right way, if you ask for support and for help that is for the greater of the good, that people say no.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about trust, and as we know, that is so critical. You can't have a good team, you can't have a good company without having trust. What are some ways? I know we were just talking about having an open conversation. What are some other ways that you could build trust up within a team, and being a new leader? How can you drive that forward?
One of the things that happens or can happen with a new leader, especially if it's someone who's eager to really do things their way, can be the idea of coming in and changing too much. And if I come in and I change too much too soon, without having my finger on the pulse and really exercising my listening skills and understanding, how much should I change? When is this ready for change? This should stay as it is and involve the team. Then that can be an Achilles heel that will actually cause more challenges. So being able to have the wisdom of when to make changes, what to keep as such, and to involve people in the process. Because when we involve people in the process, when we hear from our team, we develop more we show ourselves, first of all, as being trustworthy and caring. And at the beginning, having a new leader come in, for some people, that in itself is already enough change. So not rocking the boat for a while and then discussing and having that transparency and keeping a certain level of stability and really being true to your word. So living by example, if I say I'm going to do something, do what I'm going to say. As a leader, be an advocate for your team members as well. Okay. So we're really bridging, depending on the level of leadership. I might be bridging between my team and the senior leadership in an organization. But am I one-sided? When do I side with my team? When do I follow corporate or the leaders from above? How do I help make peace with that and not come across as to the team as just a mouthpiece? Because that will break trust.
That's interesting. Can you get into that more, what you mean by just being a mouthpiece, meaning that you're just bringing the message down from your boss and not really buying into it?
So that's one area, whether I'm bringing a message down, not buying into it, or whether I'm not listening to my team members and not bringing their concerns back. See, if I'm a new manager and I'm in a middle management level and I sit as a peer in a management meeting or an executive team and I'm not bringing up concerns, I'm doing a disservice for my own team. And I'm not bringing the right message down because I'm not bringing feedback at the same time. And for argument's sake, a better word might say is that I might end up just being a puppet of the upper leadership. And that's where I break trust completely.
Yes.
We've obviously had a very insightful conversation, lots of information here, and several things that organizations can look at if they, one, are looking to promote people from within and address new leadership roles within their organization, but also bridge the gaps that exist there. What's one piece of advice to kind of close us out that you would say, start here when you are embarking on your journey to growth and leadership in order to be successful?
I'm going to go back to what I said from the beginning. And what I mean by that is when we're onboarding, when we're bringing someone new, what is the path that they would like to take? How do we support them on their journey towards growth and advancement? Because one of the things that is going to do, if I nurture that path, if I provide them with training, if I provide them with opportunities, I've now been able to, and supported them along the way with real concrete actions. I've now also been able to build loyal team members. And loyal team members, just as Maria was saying, that's how a company will grow, because I've shown that I'm invested in my people. Richard Branson talks about the success of organization is not about the process or the procedure. It's what you invest in your people. If you invest in your people, the people will invest in you and your organization. That's how you build succession. That's how you build success.
What
Mic
a
drop.
closing argument. I know, right? Like, what a closing argument, or mic drop, as Maria said. So, but don't drop it yet, Karen, because as beautiful as that wrap up was, we're not done here. It's time for our TTA 10.
It's the TTA 10, 10 final questions for our guest.
All right, Karen. So we talked about this beforehand. 90 seconds will be on the clock. 10 questions are in my hand. I'm going to ask them to you, of course, and then the goal is to just answer them as naturally and quickly as possible. We will celebrate you if you come in under the 90 seconds, and we will do the opposite if you go over time. But again, it's all in good fun, so it'll be fun to see how this shakes out. So, are you ready to get started?
I am ready.
That's my girl. All right, David. 90 seconds, please.
All right. 90 seconds on the TTA 10 clock, beginning now.
All right, Karen, what is your favorite thing to do on the weekends?
Ballroom dancing.
Of course. No. What is your favorite feel-good snack? Your go-to.
Blueberries.
Blueberries. What is the best piece of advice you would say you've ever received?
Don't sweat it.
Dine in or take out?
Dine in. I've got a chef living with me, so.
Oh, there you go. What is a moment you wish you could like a moment from your life that you wish you could relive again?
I embrace every moment and I have no regrets, so.
Okay, then. I love it. So we know that Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. So how many pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick?
A peck.
What is your favorite power skill to teach on?
Emotional intelligence.
You can pick any artist in history to host a hometown concert for you. Who do you choose?
Celine.
Celine. Yeah. What is 9 plus 2?
11.
I've got a fever. So what's the prescription?
Don't sweat it. Go to sleep.
Okay. Right.
You're talking to somebody that used to be a chiropractor, so.
All right. David, those are our 10 questions. So let's get the final time, please.
With the score of 1 minute and 11 seconds, Dr. Karen is easily under the threshold.
Bravo, Karen.
And so, since she is a ballroom dancing aficionado, take me to the ballroom. Here I am. And we call on Mr. Michael Bublé for this week's salute.
One of my favorites.
Dr. Karen's in the house today, so your dismay will sway away. Like the perfect sand in Tel Aviv, she'll achieve all that you conceive. From a land where conflict was the norm, her courage born, she became the storm. A leader who makes our spirits soar, with a heart so warm we can't ask for more. With their knowledge of the mind and brain, she helps us all break free from every chain. Bring us together in a snap, just like a really nice falafel wrap. So here's to Dr. Karen, raise a toast. You dance and lead, you're the most. We say l'chaim to your brilliant zen, and you're a champ of the TTA 10. That's right.
Oh my God, David. That was like your ultimate. 100%. You will have that, and you can play that for everyone. That's your theme song.
That was the best cha-cha ever.
I told you he was not going to disappoint. Like, it is, David. Bravo.
Thank you.
That was brilliant.
I wish I could sing like Bublé, but I
well, it was very impressive. Your new theme song, Karen.
Yeah, right? I want to hear it the next time I open your website.
With David's permission, replaying that.
It's all yours.
I give you permission, even if he doesn't. Well, thank you so much. That was truly wonderful. I really, really appreciated the time and appreciated hearing all of your incredible insights.
So well thought out and spoken, Karen. So thank you so much for a wonderful episode and for being such an outstanding resource to us. For more information on Dr. Karen Jacobson and aligning new leadership roles in your organization, visit us at thetrainingassociates.com. We'll see you later.